Ladies and gentlemen, long time no see. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. More Granblue Fantasy Versus. Of course, in this video, it's an exciting time to be a Granblue Fantasy Versus player because the patch is out alongside Zoe for PS4 and for PC. Super exciting times. The objective of this video is going to be basically me educating you guys as to what changed and what these patches essentially mean for the people who don't necessarily understand as to what they're talking about in the patch notes. I'll be discussing and just basically telling you guys everything about this patch note, from characters to systems and what they exactly mean and what they affect. So without further ado, we got lots to go over. Let's get started. So here we are with the patch notes here. From what I understand, the patch notes are not out in English just yet. So we'll be using a fan translated one. It was translated by the great Fernman, and he did a really good job from what I understand. This is a well-translated document. So we're gonna go ahead and get into all the patch notes from the systems to the characters. Let's start off with the system, of course. Seems like they changed things across the board with all the characters, universally changing a few things and of course removing others. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the landing from jump backdash, which is basically in order to prevent a certain proximity option selects. If an up input 7, 8, or 9, so up, back up, or forward up, or up forward is input, the guard button will not perform a guard. This is basically to be able to prevent more option selects from happening. Now, if you guys don't know the previous patch that came out, not the one before this one, but the one before that in March when Narmaya came out, they were supposed to be able to remove option selects completely from the game. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Some option selects were left in the game and people could still do them to some extent, but now this should completely remove them, hopefully, unless something else gets found out. So this is basically just for option select nerfing, basically, or proximity option select nerfing, so you don't really have to worry about this too much. Next one is the guard crush. Fixed a bug that allowed you to cancel certain guard crushes by advancing. Now, if you guys don't know, this affected Ladiva. There was a specific bug that was found out a couple of weeks ago with Ladiva, where if she ran at you and she hit you with her lariat, the one that guard crushed, the one that makes you +6 or something astronomically crazy like that, you were able, as the person getting hit by the lariat, you were able to press forward, kind of like parry it or perfect block it, in a way that it would cancel out all guard crush animation. Basically meaning, instead of being plus, you are at an advantage now. It completely cancels it out. It was a weird bug. She hit you with the lariat, you press forward as she hits you, guard crush cancellation done. Like, there's no guard crush. You recover immediately, able to punish her. It was very, very, very weird. So they fixed that. So now, if you get hit by a guard crush move or Ladiva's lariats, you're going to have to hold that. So that's what this is basically addressing. The next change is going to be the buffering. And I guess they increased the buffer time on various attacks and dashes. So meaning that there's specific attacks that are in the game that you actually have a bigger time to be able to buffer your moves. So essentially the window to be able to input a button either while you're dashing or while you're performing a specific move to go into the next move has increased. So that's interesting. I don't know why, but sure. Projectiles. Now, this is a pretty big one, actually, so pay attention to this one. Projectiles will no longer come out if the character is hit on startup, with some exceptions. So this in particular, there were a couple of characters that were able to get hits while they're inputting a fireball, and the fireball would still come out, either interrupting them completely, or if you're trying to, if you're, for in the example that you're a Narmaya player like myself, if you basically Setsuna, which is the fast slash that she has, out of a specific fireball, if you hit them, they flinch, of course, and they do the hit stun animation, but the fireball will still come out and I will get hit, which is I'm like, what do you mean? So there's some characters out there that will, now, if you hit them, before the projectile comes out, the projectile will just not come out, which is nice. Characters like Beelzebub, Katalina, Lancelot, and others are infamous for this type of stuff. So that is nice. That's across the board, and it'll let you know which characters got affected by this change. But it's universal across the board from what I understand. These next two changes are universal across the board as well for the characters that do have these commands. Essentially, it's mostly for inputs. So here is, let me read you the whole thing and I'll explain it to you. 236 has priority over 623. If input is 41236, only for characters with, of course, 623 moves, walking forward and doing a 236 will give you a 623, But walking forward and doing a 4-1-2-3-6 will give you a 2-3-6 input. Here's what this means, okay? So these are, of course, notations for the specific inputs for specific directions. So quarter circle forward, which is this right here, has priority over the DP motion or a Z motion, whatever you want to call it, reversal motion. Forward, down, down, forward is the motion right here. If you input 4-1-2-3-6, which is half circle forward on a joystick or on a DualShock controller, only for characters with 2-3-6-2-3 moves. But anyways, this is essentially the big change. Walking forward, so if you walk forward your character, you press 6, press forward, and you input a 2-3-6 input, you will get a DP every time, if you do have that motion. But if you walk forward and you do a half circle forward, you will get the quarter circle forward button every time, or the special move every time. This is basically making it so it's easier for you to do DP motions while you're walking or while you're moving forward, and it's easier for you to do fireballs or fireball motions easier when you're walking forward as well. So now if you want to do a walking forward into fireball, half circle forward, you know, hold forward and then half circle forward. If you want to do a reversal, forward and then just do a regular fireball. So quarter circle forward, that's it. And you get a fireball. You get a DP, I mean. And then of course the 2-2 commands, the move will not come out if the button is pressed on any lever direction that is not 5 or 2. Essentially, this is basically fixes the accidental inputs for the characters that do have 2-2 moves, like Zeta and Charlotta, Lowain, and other characters like that have the down-down motions. So this is basically to fix the accidental inputs. So now they're a lot stricter. So whenever you do a 2-2 input, it will come out. And if you don't want to do a 2-2 input, it will not come out. So that's what it's supposed to fix. All right, guys, we made it to the character section. We're going to go through every character one by one. I'll try not to waste too much time and get you the juiciest information from all these characters. So let's get started. The first thing is close 5L. Close L, basically, close light. Increase the recovery. It's no longer plus anymore, or +3, whatever it was before. Far 5 light. Increase the startup. So now it's not 5 frames anymore. It used to be the fastest, farthest reaching move. That's a light button in the game. It was 5 frames. So I'm guessing now it's like 6 frames maybe. Close 5M. Increase the recovery. So when they say increase the recovery, basically, they're changing the advantage that they have on block and on hit, of course. So essentially, this button right here used to be +3 or 2, I believe. I think it was 3 or 2. Now it's even on block. I actually seen this change myself. It's even on block now. So whenever you go into the lab with Gran now, and you hit this move, you will flash yellow instead of blue. Interesting, right? Next change is going to be the second hit of auto combo. Change the behavior of the move to fix the fact that Gran cannot cancel the move until landing because it is airborne. Made it cancelable into special moves after startup on hit or block. Adjust it to act the same as other characters on air hit. What this means is that characters this is actually across the board too with other characters that have similar properties to Gran. Gran's second hit of his auto combo and his third hit, he was airborne. Basically, you know that knee that he does whenever he does the auto combo? He's airborne at that point, and he cannot special cancel until he reaches the ground. They fixed this. So now, no matter if he's in the air or on the ground, he's able to cancel any move into any move from the second hit of auto combo, which is nice because this unlocks different routes that he should have had, but he didn't until now. So this is actually kind of nice. And if you want to see some of these routes, I suggest you go on Twitter, find them because they're kind of nice. So that's that. In the third hit of auto combo, same exact thing. You weren't able to really, now he can cancel a lot earlier than he used to. So now it's really nice to be able to have that specific change. This happens to Lowain as well. Lowain also has a auto combo with the second hit being airborne. So now this changes the game for some of the routes, which is nice. 5U fixed a bug where Gran could charge during super freeze. I don't really care too much about this one. I guess he could do something. I'm not really familiar with this and doesn't really matter too much, and you shouldn't really care too much about this change. 236M will no longer come out if the character's hit on startup. Basically, this is the fireball change that we saw earlier. If he gets hit on the startup of this move, the fireball will not come out. That's just that. This includes the light and the heavy version as well. So that's that. Super Skybound art. Easy input. Decrease the frame advantage. Decrease the frame advantage on a close hit to make it a difference from the technical input like other characters. So if you guys don't know, this is something that I might make a video on, but this is across the board. This happens to a lot of characters in this patch. They changed this a lot. Decrease the frame advantage on close hit, which means that whenever Gran does his super skybound art, releases the fireball, he does the close hit. If you did the easy input for that and you got the whole animation for it, they will actually land farther away from you compared to if you did it on technical hit. If it's on technical hit, they land closer to you, which makes Oki a lot better. If you do the easy input, they will land farther. This was not a thing for Gran in the pre-patch. Now it's going to be universal across the board with other characters. I've seen it pretty much with almost every character that had this issue. So the theme of this change is basically, if you do the easy hit, they will land farther. If you do the technical input, then you will get the opponent landing closer to you. That's essentially what this means. Next up, we got Katalina, and this is something that I did not know she had. This is kind of messed up. Her backwalk, her hurt box was actually smaller when she walked backwards. So it's been adjusted to have a similar hurt box from her standing hurt box. What this means is when she walked backwards, when she did that, the box to be able to hit her avatar or her model was smaller. So it's harder to hit compared to if she was standing. Now, the hurt box is going to be universal if she's standing or if she's walking backwards. That's what this means. That's messed up. It was really hard to hit her. Now I know why. Close 5L, they increased the recovery. So it's similar to Gran's. They made it not as plus anymore. Close 5M, increase the recovery and decrease the proximity trigger range. The range at which 5M comes out as close 5M instead of far 5M. So here's what this change means. First of all, same thing. So instead of +3, I think it's even now on block. Decrease the proximity trigger range. So she had a really far proximity trigger range. So basically, depending on which range she's at, she'll get either close 5M or far 5M. The trigger for the close 5M was large. So she could get like a two crouching lights into a close 5M. And at that point, at that range, normally characters would be in range for a far 5M. But not Katalina. She had a crazy close proximity range. So now they changed that. So whenever you actually, they decrease basically the proximity range of her close 5M. So now if you do like two Ls, then you get a far 5M instead of a close 5M. Nice. I like that because, dude, it was so cheap. So cheap. Next up, we have far 5H, and they decrease the active frames, increase the recovery. The total duration remains the same, by the way. As a result of this change, the cancel window is smaller. Oh my god. Increase the size of the lingering hurt box after active frames horizontally and larger in the front. If you don't know what this means, far 5H was one of Katalina's best buttons. It was one of the best and cheapest buttons in the entire game because it was really fast, it had no hurt box, and it recovered mad fast, which would made it impossible, almost impossible, to whiff punish consistently. So what they did was pretty much they increased the recovery, making it a lot slower to be able to recover from. They decreased the active frames, which makes it so she doesn't whiff punish as easily anymore or as good as she used to, at least without repercussions. And of course, they increase the size of the lingering hurt box after the active frames, which makes it so much easier to punish on whiff. And that's all I wanted. It's still a fantastic button, a great button to whiff punish, a great button to start your combos off, but it's easier to punish now if you use it willy-nilly. Katalina players would just be like, now I can literally punish her for doing that type of nonsense. So that's a nice change. I really liked it. 236X will no longer come out in the characters hit on startup. The universal fireball change applies to her too. And then 214M, which is her medium lunge, damage has been reduced from 16 to 1400, which is okay. Well, sure. Definitely the two biggest change are these two. This is a huge change, by the way, huge. And so is this. So I like these changes. Next up is Charlotta. Third hit of auto combo. Increase the startup. Normalized to other characters. If you guys didn't know, the third hit of her auto combo was so freaking fast. If you were able to clash with her twice, the first hit of auto combo, the second hit of auto combo. If the both of you did your third hit of the auto combo, Charlotta would win pretty much like 100% of the time because it was so fast. So they made it a little bit slower, so to normalize it across the board. And this is another universal change that they're trying to do with all the characters with their auto combos. They're trying to make it so it's basically the exact same speed and the exact same advantage on block. So they're trying to make it as universal as possible when it comes to their auto combos. All right, so her charge back into forward medium, which is her Charlotta ball, where she rolls down the freaking, rolls down the river, whatever you want to call it. They increased the clash level, meaning that right now, beforehand, whenever she did this button, she would get hit out of it. And because they increased the clash level, it means that the probability of you clashing with this button is a lot higher now. If you increase the clash level, that means that the priority gets increased, which means that if you clash with a similar button with similar priority, they will basically clash. If you do this button with another button with the same exact priority level or clash level, they will come together and they will clash. Beforehand, it was a lot lower, meaning that if she, with regular buttons, like let's say a heavy button or something like that, she would get hit out of it almost every time. Now that's not the case. So they increased it for her medium Charlotta ball. All right, so this is the heavy version, damage reduced from 1400 to 200, so a damage nerf, and they decreased the clash level. So compared to this one, they actually decreased this one, which means that there's some specific moves that will beat out this button clean without clashing at all, which is nice. This button is cheap. Next up is her DP, or her reversal. Change the clash level of the falling hit of the same to be the same as 5L. This is a really nice change because before, of course, you were able to clash with the falling down hit of Charlotta's reversal, making it super hard to punish. Now, if you make it on the same clash level as 5L, a light button, meaning that I can basically crush with any button that's above a light button. So if I were to crush it with medium or with heavy, whatever the case, making it way easier to punish now on the way down compared to what it was before. Before, you just had to hold it, you had to do a specific special punish for it. Everything's still the same except for the clash level, which makes it a lot easier to punish now, which essentially is what I was asking for. And it gives you a little bit of a guide right here if you guys didn't understand my explanation of it. But last change is basically her 2-2, her demon flip essentially, or her royal, I don't remember what it's called, but the move will not come out if the button is pressed. Basically, the input universal change applies to her 2-2 button, or 2-2 special move. So that's Charlotta. Yeah, that's her. Lancelot, this is gonna be a good one because he got nerfed. He got nerfed quite a bit. His backwalk hurt box was smaller, so it has been adjusted to have a similar hurt box to a standing hurt box. Same change as Katalina. He had it as well. Freaking cheap mother fifers, dude. Close 5M increased the recovery, so now it's no longer plus. It might be even now. JU, which is his fast fall. When he goes up in the air, he just goes down super fast. Added landing recovery. This is a godsend. Godsend change because, man, he had little to no recovery when it comes to his JU. I swear, man. And it made it so it's super hard for you to react to see what he was going to do, if he was going to do a land on the left or the right side, and it made it really hard to be able to react to. Made it really hard to be able to punish to the JU, I should say. So now, have landing recovery. He's a lot slower, so that means you have plenty of time to be able to hit him out of his JU or out of anything coming out of JU. So pretty nice. Nice change, nice change. Next up is 236H. They basically made it so they decreased the active frames, which is, wow, I didn't expect them to do that. They changed this projectile. This change makes the projectile travel distance shorter. Will no longer come out if the characters hit on startup. So what this means essentially is that the travel distance for this projectile is shorter. It lasts a lot less, and that's pretty much it, which is nice because 236H was super cheap. Will no longer come out if the characters hit on startup. Basically, that change that we were talking about before, the universal fireball change applies to him. Also with the light and the medium version too, not just the heavy version. And then it made it harder for projectiles to pass through each other when they clash with 236H. If you guys didn't know, there's specific projectiles, EX projectiles even, where it would clash with this button, this EX icicle, and it would just pass through each other. it was really weird. It would hit each other like once or twice, and then the third hit would just pass through each other and will go to their respective like targets. So it was super weird. So now it doesn't do that anymore. It will clash every time with every single hit. It doesn't pass through each other as easy. So that's that. Next up is going to be 66H. This is such a freaking ridiculously good button pre-patch. They increased the startup. That is a great change because this move was so fast. It was so good, almost brain dead in my opinion. This button could literally just do it from full screen. You were plus, if it hit, you had a combo. It's basically a neutral initiator that was super easy to use and super freaking good. Super freaking good. So they increased the startup, which basically means you can react to it a lot better. You can see it coming now. And there's specific routes that get affected by this change too. So Lancelot's routes have been changed, and his neutral is not as good as it was before because this is a lot slower. You can see it coming. All right, next up is the 2-2 inputs. Same exact change, the universal input change for the 2-2 inputs. And then the follow-ups to the light and medium version of his teleport, which is the thing he comes down, decrease the recovery on hits because previously, Lancelot was minus if the opponent teched in place. That's actually cheap. Minus on hit? Unsafe on hit, eh? Ugh. Yeah, that's a good change for Lancelot. But either way, these are some good nerfs, man. Those are some good AF nerfs, I'm not gonna lie. He's been normalized. I don't know how this is gonna affect him in the long run, but I feel like Lancelot players have to work a little bit harder than they used to. So that's nice. Next up is Percival. He didn't get too many changes. He just got the universal ones. Basically the easy input for the medium and heavy DPs. Hits the opponent farther away on hits, normalized to other easy DP inputs. Basically this is just the easy inputs, not the technical ones. Same exact changes I was talking about earlier. If you hit the easy input, then they will go away or land a lot farther away from you compared to the technical input. This is going to be his technical input. His charge up move, same exact universal change for the input buffers, or the input registration with the 2-2 moves, same exact thing. Skybound art, easy input, reduce frame advantage on hits slightly. The universal change where if you do the easy input super, they land farther away. So that basically got effective with his SCART and his medium and heavy DP. Nice, that's nice. Yeah, that's pretty much Percival. I mean, he didn't really need anything else, to be honest with you. But just universal input changes and the easy input changes and the input registration buffs, and that's it. There's really nothing much. The last patch kind of really helped him out a lot, so he didn't really need anything else. All right, this is a big one right here. This is Ladiva. Ladiva, a couple things have been changed to her. Various standing and crouching states, neutral, guarding, hit stun, whatever. They increased the size of her boxes because they were smaller than they appeared. Basically meaning that you would think she had a big hurt box while you were comboing her, while you were playing against her, whatever the case. But no, they were actually a lot smaller than they appeared. So she was not thick. So you could not hit her easily because she's a big body character. You assume that she has big hurt boxes for you to hit her. That's not the case with Ladiva. So now they increased her hurt boxes to be pretty much universal across all her states. Hitting state, blocking state, neutral, standing, crouching, whatever the case may be, everything's universal. So things are a little more consistent in terms of comboing against her and also just playing neutral against her essentially. So yeah, that's nice. She wasn't thick, but now she's thick. Backwalk, increase the size of her hurt box to match the change to her standing hurt box. The exact same change as Lancelot and Katalina. Ladiva also had it too. And they matched it to the hurt box change from the first change, so that's nice. Spot dodge and dodge roll. Increase the size of her hurt box during recovery to match the state of her standing hurt box. More universal changes to her hurt box, matching this hurt box change, so that's nice. All right, so close 5L, increase the recovery. Woohoo, it's no longer plus anymore. Far 5L, increase the recovery, is no longer plus anymore. This used to be +3. It was ridiculous. It was really, really good. So this will change probably some combo routes that she has and also some pressure routes that she has. So block strings have been changed and also combos have been changed because of this whole thing. Next up is going to be her command grab. Made the knockdown advantage on successful throw the same on all characters. I didn't know this, but now it's universal across the board on all characters. It's universal across all characters, making it more consistent to be able to know what she can have on a successful command throw. So anyways, that's that. Next is going to be her headbutt, 2, 3, 6, and whatever inputs. It basically made her inputs for the fireball and her DP motion, or just her command grab motion, more strict. So now whenever she basically matching that whole input registration universal buff that we got in the system changes, basically that is going to be the same with her fireball motion, which is her headbutt, and her what was it again, her command grab. So sometimes you will get accidental inputs with sometimes you want to do a headbutt but you get a command grab, and vice versa. Sometimes you wanted a command grab but then you get a headbutt. It was really confusing, so they made it a little bit more strict, seems like, for those two things. So yeah, that's that. Next up is going to be your 214H, which is her EX Lariat. Damage reduced from 1500 to 1300. The damage was crazy. It led to some crazy damaging combos, but they decreased the damage on her EX Lariat. And whenever you dash with Ladiva and you do the inputs or any lariats, you actually get more damage, and they kind of reduce that one as well from 16 to 1400. So yeah, that's that. Metera, or Metera, whatever you want to say. 4/5 light. Increase the size of her lower hurt box from right before active to recovery. This is a huge change for Metera. Huge, because this was such a cheap move. This was one of her biggest game plans. This is the button where she shoots the ground and it would hit low. Before, that was a disjointed hurt box, which means that no matter how much you try to hit that button, you will not hit her because it was disjointed, meaning that it was completely separate from her own hurt box. So they changed that. Now, whenever she does this move, she shoots the ground and she freaking starts spamming it or whatever, you can actually hit her out of it. Wow. It's kind of nice, actually, because this move was cheap. So yeah, they added a hurt box onto her 4/5 light, which is super good. This is huge, actually, for a big nerf for her, to be honest with you. Next up is going to be Close 5M. Close 5M had increased recovery. It was plus on block before, but I'm guessing it's even now. So that's to match the whole no plus frames on specific close proximity buttons. Next up, we're going to have 4/5H, 2H, and 1H. In order to prevent clashes after hitting the opponent, the arrows lose their hitbox on hit or on block. This is pretty big, actually. This is pretty big. This does not affect 2-2X. This is pretty big, actually, because now if you actually hit her before her 2H or her 1H or her 5H come out, you will not clash with her at all because the arrows will just disappear. This will kind of prevent a lot of clashing with Metera, which is kind of a nerf, but it's a very small change. You don't have to worry about it. If you see them in the air, snipe them still, but this very small change, but it's a nerf regardless. Next up is the second hit of her auto combo. This is also a nerf. Increase the startup, normalized to other characters. The exact same change as Charlotta with their third hit is happening with Metera. Metera, whatever, I'm gonna call it Metera. Metera actually had one of the fastest second hit of auto combos ever. If you got in a clash war with Metera, every time you were basically just going to lose because it was so fast. So yeah, that's that. 5U, her hop. Minnesota Metera no longer does specials away from the opponent during the landing frames of 5U that crosses over the opponent. This is a nice change, quality of life change for Metera. The reason why is because whenever she hops over the opponent and she did a special move, normally that would actually be shooting away from the opponent. It would not autocorrect. It was really strange. Now, every time she jumps over, if it ever does happen, and she does a special move in the air, it would actually autocorrect to the correct side, which is nice. So that's a nice quality of life change for her because that would happen pretty often. Now, the more I thought about it, when I first saw this change, I'm like, well, I don't get it. But now the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, that's her 5U change. 236 and 214X made it possible to shoot the low version immediately after the high version if it is blocked or if it clashes. Same for low into high. Made it harder for projectiles to pass through each other when they clash with 236 or 214. Nice. So this is basically the big change here. This is a good buff for her. If she gets into a clash war or a fireball war, she can basically do the opposing or the opposite version or of that specific fireball, either the low or the high, in consecutive order. So basically, let's say you shoot a high arrow, it clashes with their fireball, you can immediately do a low arrow afterwards. Before you had to wait until a couple of seconds, I think until the cooldown comes out, and then you can shoot the other arrow. But no, now you can just do it like almost immediately, which is nice. Makes zoning a little bit better for her. Nice. Next is going to be DP motion, whatever. This is basically her shower. She shoots up an arrow in the sky and then shower comes down. The angle of the arrow would change based on which corner was used, right versus left. So it has been standardized to act as it did in the right corner. Interesting. So yeah, I did not know that the angle would change based on which corner she's at, right or left. Depending on where she's at, P1 or P2, she would have a different angle. That's weird. Okay, they universalized it now, so they fixed that. And then a 2-2 input, technical input, universal change that we have. So that's Metera. Lowain, okay, here we go. Second hit of auto combo. Exact same change as Gran. So now he can actually, because of the second hit of his auto combo, he was airborne. He can actually cancel out from the airborne state, essentially, making routes a little bit better from my understanding. And the third hit as well, changed the behavior to accommodate this auto combo change. So that's nice. And then the 2-2 input, universal change, input registration change. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Lowain. Oh boy, he didn't get anything. That's sad. Ferry, oh boy, let's talk about Ferry, YouTube. Let's talk about Ferry. Far 5 light made the hurt box on the whip during recovery larger vertically, brought closer to the ground, which means that it's a lot better and easier to hit this button whenever she actually whiffs it, or if she tries to break it out whenever it's not her turn, she can get hit out of it a lot easier now, which is nice. Far 5M increased the recovery, which is nice, making it easier to whiff punish and to jump over. Far 5H decreased the clash level. Thank God. Now, you know what that means, guys? Now, whenever she does Far 5H and you try to whiff punish or you try to punish her for doing that, it won't clash. Meaning that you can completely crush this move whenever you do like a heavy version, or heavy button, I mean. So for example, if you're playing Katalina, she does Far 5H and you do your Far 5H, Katalina's gonna win. Sweet. And before that would clash and that would be it. But now, whoo, this is good. This is good. This is good. Ferry definitely got nerfed. That's a nerf, big nerf. This is a big nerf too. 2U decreased the clash level. Exact same change as this one. 2U is still really good because it's still really fast and it still recovers pretty quickly. And you can still spam it. But you can now get hit out of it easier now. Instead of clashing with other buttons, it will get beat out easier. The priority level has decreased. Yes. So far, this is looking good, guys. Looking good. The fireball motion, technical input, 236 priority. Okay, same exact change for the input registration for her DP and her fireball motion. So that's nice. The follow-ups advantage on hit used to be varied based on the opponents, and the advantage on hit has been standardized. So exact same change similarly to Ladiva. Now whenever she hits the follow-ups, the advantage on hits or on the follow-ups is basically universal across the board with every character. So that's nice. This is another huge one. This is probably the biggest change. Increased the startup on her DP. Oh, guys, this is huge. From my understanding, her DP went from a 7-frame startup, 7-frame startup to 11-frame startup. That means you can now meaty her DP to be able to bait it out. You can actually safe jump her DP a lot easier as well. So now Ferry players have to be careful if they decide to DP, because it will hurt if they get baited or if they basically get meatied. Beautiful. Beautiful. Not to mention that some Ferry players would do a sweep you would jump over the next sweep because people would do, Ferry players would do sweep into sweep every freaking time. Now, if she does sweep, you jump over, she does sweep again, she DPs, I'm going to block it because it's slower now. Before that would hit, I would anti-arm me every time, it was super cheap. Now that's not the case anymore. Super awesome. I love it. I love it. And then the technical input for GG, the universal input registration change. So that's that. Zeta, we have the 2-2 inputs, universal input registration buff on her. Basically, yeah, for the 2-2 input that she has. Actually, Zeta was pretty prominent for this issue, so I'm glad that they fixed it for Zeta at least. Sometimes I would get accidental 2-2 inputs whenever I play Zeta. Technical input, same exact thing for her fireball, motion. That whole universal buff has been changed with her too. Air Skybound Arts made it so the move does not land mid first hit, so the first move will hit until the final hit, making it so you actually get every single hit of her air special or her air Skybound Art, so makes it so the damage is consistent and all the hits are consistent. So that's a nice buff. Quality of life buff. Super Scart. Because the damage was extremely low on long range hits, the damage values of the move has been changed from 2000 on the first part of the move to 500 after, to 2000 damage on the first hit and 500 damage on subsequent hits. What this means is that whenever you do get the sour hit of her Super Scart, when she goes up and she does not get the full animation, before it would be the move when you go up would be 500 damage, and then the follow-up or the animation would be 2000 damage, where she does the huge laser beam at you. They switched that. Now, when she goes up, the initial hit is now 2000, and the rest of it, the beam and everything, is 500. This is to combat the whole sour hit thing that they got going on with the Super Scarts. So if she doesn't get the animation, she at least gets 2000 damage instead of 500. She would get cheated out of damage because the animation was the juicy part. Now it's just the initial hit. That's the juicy part now, which is nice. Next up is Vaseraga. We got Vaseraga in the house, man. Close 5L, decrease the attack level, the clash level, and damage has been unchanged, by the way. Hit stop, knockback, hit stun. Oh my god, block stun are affected. This is a ginormous nerf for Vaseraga, guys. This is something that I was not expecting Vaseraga to get. I thought it was going to be a decrease in frame advantage, and that's it. But right now, it looks like they decreased the attack level, the hit stop, the knockback, the hit stun, and the block stun, which means that right now, not only is it more, is not plus on block anymore, but it's not as plus on hits, meaning that some routes will get changed. Before he could get close 5L into 2M, before he would get close 5L into 5M, all those have been changed. He can no longer combo those buttons anymore, which is huge because his close 5L was such an essential game plan to him. The Vaseraga players are going to have to figure out another way to be able to confirm, either on counter hits or different ways to be able to get that. I imagine you can still get them on crouching status, but on universally, that's been changed, man. Ugh, that's a rough change. Close 5M, increase the recovery. Basically, just like the plus on block hold change thing has been affected by Vaseraga's close 5M, which is fine. But it moves a little forward, no longer will whiff on proximity trigger range. Now, Vaseraga since launch had a huge problem where his close 5M would whiff on when the proximity trigger hits. So now they kind of fixed that. So now he moves forward a bit with his close 5M, so that can be prevented. He no longer can whiff it anymore. I've seen situations on Twitter where it still will whiff, but it's not as common anymore. So that's close 5M. JM and JH, they decrease the knockback, which is nice, which means that whenever you hit people on block or on hit, they will not go flying backwards from the impact of the hit. They will actually stay in place, so you can actually get some close proximity normals if you land the jump in, which is really nice. So this, alongside with this, can be really nice. So anyways, next up is going to be his charge move. They increased the damage on his shoulder tackle, light version, from 1200 to 1300. That's kind of nice. The 2-2 input, the whole universal buff on the 2-2 inputs also affect Vaseraga. The regular SCART fixed a bug where the second hit would hit again when it was only the part. It was only the when it was the only part that connected. I don't know what kind of bug that is, but sure, they fixed the bug, I guess. And these are all notes. It seems like these are all different notes from the different patches. So that's kind of nice. This is a good patch note. Beelzebub. Let's take a look at this right now. Beelzebub got some cancels changed, adjusted the input priority on crouching moves, allowing Beelzebub to cancel close normals into crouching normals on Clash. So I know about this actually. This is a big problem that Beelzebub had. Whenever he did a close proximity normal and it clashed with the opponent, he wasn't able to do a crouching normal. He had to do a standing normal, which was messed up. So now he can actually do that when things clash with Beelzebub. Now he can do like a 2L after it clashes with like 5M or something like that. So yeah, that's a nice change. It's whatever really, but whatever. His fireball also got changed, the same exact universal change. The fireball will no longer come out if the character's hit on startup. This is a big change for Beelzebub. This affects him directly because he has the best fireball in the game in my opinion. Especially that big old wall of fireballs. If he did not if he did get hit, he would still send out the fireballs. Now that's changed. Now if he gets hit, the fireballs will disappear, which just affects Beelzebub quite a bit. So I consider this to be a nerf. It's not too bad, but it's still kind of rough. Like that was kind of nice of Beelzebub to have. And then of course the fireball DP input registration universal change got it. He also got it. DP easy DP input hits the opponent further away on hits. Pretty self-explanatory. Easy input will go send them out farther. Technical input will make them land right in front of you, or almost right in front of you. A lot closer to you. How about that? So the next one is his vacuum. Essentially, the move will not come out if the button is pressed on any lever. Basically, yeah, the technical input universal change gets affected by his vacuum. SCART easy inputs. Same exact thing. The easy input make it so they're farther on hits. Same thing with his command grab version. He has the regular hit version and the command grab version. Same exact change. Reduce the frame advantage on hits. They land farther away when you do the easy input. And that's that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into Narmaya. This is the winner of this patch, and I'm so happy that's the case, essentially. Kagura 5L. Increase the initial hitbox horizontally. Kagura Stance 5L now has a farther hitbox, which is really nice. Now she can be able to reach a lot farther than she initially would have pre-patch. And this is actually a typo from my understanding. This and this are typos. They decrease the recovery of this move, and they decrease the recovery on this move as well. Kagura Stance 5L and Kagura Stance 5M, which is a far 5M, I should say. Meaning that now, instead of this being -1, it's now even on block, which is nice because you can now frame trap better, you can now pressure better, and it's just a great buff overall. Super nice. Next up is going to be her far 5M. This was like what, -7 or 9 or some nonsense like that. Super unsafe. So they did decrease the recovery, making it a little bit more useful. However, they did not increase the hitbox. I'm kind of sad on that. I wish they would have increased the hitbox, man. I really wish. Genji Stance, Setsuna, her fast slash, her initial hitbox has been reduced, which is nice, meaning that she cannot get hit. She used to get hit out of her Misfiner or her Setsuna really easily, especially with fireballs and especially against Katalina, far 5H. They decreased the hitbox, which means it's a lot harder to hit her whenever you're playing the neutral when she does her Misfiner, which is nice. That's good. Next up is going to be her DP. Her DP in Genji stance, she actually moves slightly forward, which is nice. And same thing in Kagura stance, she moves slightly forward. Her DPs in both stances gotten buffed. So now she has more horizontal reach, so it doesn't really whiff as much anymore. Before, if you wanted to anti-air with DP, normally it would whiff in certain ranges, making it kind of hard to be able to use that anti-air. But because it has more horizontal reach now, it moves her forward slightly. That's really nice because she can now anti-air consistently. Also, from what I understand, this move right here, Kagura stance DP, before it was very situational when you can combo into this move, but now it's universal. Now you can combo into this move pretty fairly easy from an auto combo, which is nice. And this is Kagura stance easy input DP. Hits the opponent farther away on hits, normalized to other easy input DPs. Yeah, it's farther on hit if you do the easy input on Kagura stance DP. So that's nice. So next we have 214X Kagura stance, which is basically Moonsault. Decrease the size of the lower hurt box during active frames, which is really nice. That means it's harder to hit her out of this move, essentially, because her hurt box has been lowered. Or they decrease the size of her lower one, which means that she can basically hit people out of their anti-airs a lot better now. She can still be anti-aired, yes, but it's a lot harder to anti-air her now from her Moonsault. But this is a big one right here. Look at this chat. Look at chat room. YouTube, look at this, man. Kagura stance Moonsault light and medium version decreased the landing recovery, boys. And I saw this change on Twitter. Dude, it went from medium version went from -2 to +2. Whew! This is so sick. In certain ranges, you can actually get it to be plus, but now it's just +2 every time, which is so sick. The light version, I think it's even on block, or -1 from like -3 or something like that. So they decreased the landing recovery, which makes it a lot more viable to use now. So Narmaya, good job. Yeah, lots of really freaking good changes right now. Her SCART, her easy input SCART, frame advantage on close hit, make it a difference. Yeah, it's basically, they decrease the frame advantage on hit. That's that universal change with all the SCARTs and the easy inputs, special moves. So Narmaya, muy bueno. Soriz, his rush punch damage got increased from 1,000 to 1,100. And that's it. The rest of it is pretty much the input buffer, or the inputs registration universal change, technical input for his 2-2, 2-2 special move, and his super SCART. Oh, this is actually a big one. Actually, this is not a big one, but it's something that they needed to address. So in his super SCART, when he goes into a diaper install and he hits his super SCART ends diaper install, that unblockable, when the second hit connects at close range, when the cinematic basically hits, and Soriz was not invulnerable. They added invulnerability right now, which means that if you were to set it up, there was a weird glitch that happened. He could get hit out of his animation, actually. It made it so the camera freaks out. So a good example of this is when he did this move and the Ferry SCART, the ball would bounce around, it would hit him during this animation, and the camera would freak out everywhere. It was super weird glitch. So they fixed it. So now he's completely invul and the animation carries out as normal. So they changed that. Weird glitch that came out with Soriz. Jeana, that's the next character. And that's pretty much it for Soriz, by the way. Jeana, close 5L, increase the recovery, universal across all characters. 5U fixed the bug where Jeana could charge during a super free. Same thing as Gran. Not gonna worry too much about it. Technical inputs. Oh yeah, her fireball and her DP, that whole universal input registration buff that we got, or made it a lot stricter, applies to her too. Skybound art fixed the bug where the super meter was used twice. I don't know what that means, but I'm not gonna worry too much about it, to be honest. Super SCART, in order to fix a bug where the move makes a contact with blocking on armored opponents, every hit does the same damage as the first hit. The damage has been changed to the first hit does 1,500 damage and subsequent hits do 100 damage. Damage on hit is unchanged. So here's the thing. This is another bug, another glitch that happened with Jeana. So Soriz and Jeana both had glitches. We explained Soriz's glitch. Jeana's glitch was basically if you were in a state where you're in an armored state, basically, or in a state where you can take multiple armored hits, Jeana would destroy you because the first hit would do 1,500 damage and every other subsequent hit would do 1,500 damage as well, leading to like death, basically. So Lowain was one of these very popular characters that you would see this glitch with because he would go into human pyramid and he would be in constant armor, basically. You would do her super SCART, his life would just melt. It was crazy. So they basically changed that. So she was like a monster in RPG mode because in RPG mode there was boss fights where they were in constant armor mode. So she was a cheat code for RPG mode. So now she doesn't do that anymore. Sorry. So that's that for her super scarf, and that's Jeana, essentially, and other various bugs have been fixed as well. Guys, we made it to the end of the patch notes. This is it. Definitely a lot of changes have occurred. What do I think of this patch, essentially? This patch has been kind of crazy because not a lot of things have been changed, but if you take a look and you read between the lines, a lot of these changes matter. And I'm glad they didn't go all out and go crazy for all the changes that they did, because they could really gut some characters. They can make them unusable. But it seems like a lot of these characters that got nerfed are still usable. Gran, still really good. Katalina, still really good. Lancelot, Charlotta, Metera, Ladiva. A bunch of these characters are still really Ferry even. And I'm glad they did that, because Arc System tends to have a past of gutting characters and also buffing top tier characters. So they made it a very subtle patch, which I don't mind at all. We just have to learn all the different things and also the undocumented changes that I'm waiting to actually do tomorrow on my live stream. But essentially, I like the patch. I'm not gonna lie. The winners of this patch has definitely been Narmaya. Gran has also been really good because certain matchups have been nerfed. Even though his plus frames have been nerfed, his boot is still there. He has a lot of things that are still there, man. Other characters like, what other characters? Well, Vaseraga got nerfed, which is sad to see. But he's still, I think, pretty viable. But Narmaya is definitely the winner of this patch. This patch is definitely hats off to Narmaya players because we got buffs, man. Nothing but buffs, my boys. So Narmaya is definitely the winner of this patch. Loser is definitely Ferry. Ferry got nerfed quite a bit, and so did Lancelot. So Lancelot and Ferry got nerfed quite a bit. That's fine by me because of those two characters that I wanted to get nerfed. And also Katalina too. We'll see how the meta changes and how the tier list changes. After this patch comes out, we have to wait till it develops, and then we'll come back to discuss some more character strengths and how the tier list kind of match up and the new meta. And that's pretty much going to be it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys did like the video, please leave it a like. It does help out quite a bit. Let me know what you guys think of the patch in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel, and of course, we'll see you next time for more Granblue Fantasy Versus, and on Twitch for more live Granblue Fantasy Versus. So check me out. Take care, guys. We'll see you guys next time.